The Mythmakers Part 3. The Doctor and Odysseus back and forth about the construction of the Trojan horse. Vicky and Stephen back and forth in prison cells, and then Vicky's in love with Troilus. I've seen better episodes of this show before, and it would be better if it was available, but alas, I'm watching a radio play with some supplemental images. Let's read out aloud about the filming of this episode, the serial, rather. Filming for the Mythmakers took place at Frensham Ponds, close to Leaston Smith's home. Early 35mm filming took place on the 27th of August 1965, depicting the serial's two major fight sequences. During filming, Hayward grazed his hand on a shield, and Kendall was blistered and grazed. As a result, some of Kendall's scenes were refilmed on the 30th of August. The following day, Lynn cut his hand during production, which required additional refilming. For filming on the 2nd of September, Wood and his team created a model of Troy, which is established on location and filmed using the Schuftan process through a partially reflective mirror, allowing actors to appear to be moving around the set. Wood built the model in a little more than a week to make it appear hurried. Weekly rehearsals for the Mythmakers began on the 13th of September at the North Kensington Community Centre. By this time, Wiles had fully taken over from his predecessor, the show's original producer Verity Lambert, which, alongside O'Brien's departure, greatly upset Hartnell. Further upset came from the death of Hartnell's Aunt Bessie, the only person from his childhood to whom he was close. That's very sad. The production schedule prevented him from attending her funeral. Oh my god. Weekly recording began on the 17th of September. During camera rehearsals for the first episode, Hartnell was struck by a camera, leaving his left shoulder bruised. This was cursed! The final episode was recorded on the 8th of October. Recording for the 4 episodes cost a total of £10,214. Just in case some people don't know, I may as well just expand this episode more so. I'd like to read out aloud the introductory Wikipedia paragraph of the Trojan War, just in case anyone is not aware of this, and to clarify the misinformation, I guess, propagated by this particular serial, which was meant to... These historicals are meant to be educational. This is kind of anything but. This is somewhat meant to be cute historical, mythological fiction. Well, let me read this out aloud. In Greek mythology, the Trojan War was waged against the city of Troy by the Achaeans, Greeks, after Paris of Troy took Helen from her husband Menelaus, king of Sparta. The war is one of the most important events in Greek mythology and has been narrated through many works of Greek literature, most notably Homer's Iliad. The core of the Iliad, books 2 to 23, describe a period of 4 days and 2 nights in the 10th year of the decade-long siege of Troy. The Odyssey describes the journey home of Odysseus, one of the war's heroes. Other parts of the war are described in a cycle of epic poems, which have survived through fragments. As episodes from the war provided material for Greek tragedy and other works of Greek literature, and for Roman poets including Virgil and Ovid. The ancient Greeks believed that Troy was located near the Dardanelles, and that the Trojan War was a historical event of the 13th or 12th century BC, but by the mid-19th century AD, both the war and the city were widely seen as non-historical. In 1868, however, the German archaeologist Heinrich Schliemann met Frank Calvert, who convinced Schliemann that Troy was at what is now Hisarlik in Turkey. On the basis of excavations conducted by Schliemann and others, this claim is now accepted by most scholars. Schliemann wanted to believe that the Trojan War was literally true, or that there was more literal truth to it than was believed at that time, and Schliemann ended up using dynamite and inadvertently destroyed most of the site before it could be properly examined. I at one time wanted to compose and write a rock opera about Heinrich Schliemann. Whether there was any historical reality behind the Trojan War remains an open question. Many scholars believe that there is a historical core to the tale, though this may simply mean that the Homeric stories are a fusion of various tales of sieges and expeditions by the Mycenaean Greeks during the Bronze Age. Those who believe that the stories of the Trojan War are derived from a specific historical conflict usually date it to the 12th or 11th century BC, often preferring the dates given by Aristophanes, 1194 to 1184 BC, which roughly correspond to archaeological evidence of a catastrophic burning of Troy 7 and the late Bronze Age collapse. Very good. Well, I think that's all we need today. Tune in next time if you're so inclined for the Mythmakers Part 4, here on AOD's Classic Doctor Who Retrospective. Hey, thanks again, my friends.